Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne,
And I'm Pake.
and this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode is a very special kind of between seasons episodes. We'll be back for season 6. God, wow. Soon, but for now, as those who know, right when we were ending the last season, I was talking about going to this big Tremors film festival in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Well, I did that and met up with some amazing people, including the host of the Talking Tremors podcast and somebody that we have been talking with on Twitter for a while. So I would like to introduce to you, because they're going to help me talk about this whole weekend as well. Levi, where's that? Welcome.
Welcome, Levi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Damn it! I should have been. Like I said, my brain's not. Hello, and welcome to Run for Your Talking Tremors. Let's get this party started.
Woo! Yes, combination of the two podcasts in a way coming together, because me and Levi and so many other people had such a blast that weekend that, yeah, we're just gonna talk about it, and Daphne's gonna sit along for the ride. No, I want Daphne to be as included as she can be. So any questions you got, anything, like, let's talk this thing out, because man, it was a blast.
Honestly, I feel bad for Daphne. She's gonna have major FOMO jealousy throughout this.
Really? I am? Am I? I guess we'll see. You'll have to ask me that at the end of the podcast.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess the good news, one thing that I'll go ahead and say about the weekend that we didn't even know was going to be a thing until the first movie was about to start, but apparently they have planned to make this an annual thing, whether that's every year in Santa Fe or if they're going to move it around, because the owner of the Violet Crown Theater, which is where it took place, owns a couple of different theaters across the country, but mainly in like New Mexico and Texas. So like that, but still different theaters, so it might move around a little bit, or maybe they're going to keep it in Santa Fe since Michael Gross lives there. But either way,
honestly, that seems to be the plan, at least from what I know from behind the scenes and working with people. Would absolutely love to have it every single year. Like, again, mine would be move it a little bit, because there were so many people from the East Coast that were just like, oh, I can't make it. And honestly,
that sounds familiar.
It would be great to jump it to the East Coast next year, because then people from across the pond could come a little bit easier than flying all the way to Santa Fe and such.
Did you have were there a lot of people from overseas? I mean, it looked like it was well attended, but I'm curious about.
It was pretty decent.
Joseph Aquina from Hawaii.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I remember he came from Hawaii, which technically, I don't know if you call Hawaii overseas. It is.
It is.
He did have to fly over ocean, like from an island to the mainland. But I mean, it's still United States, so there's no like international travel, technically, quote unquote. But yeah, definitely had to take a flight from Hawaii to get there, which is still quite the trip. So that was awesome to have him there. And then I know people
travel farther than I did, which is a feat.
Yeah, I know people coming in from like Wisconsin and Connecticut.
Detroit.
You and your wife drove from Iowa, so that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a drive. Sorry. Tough subject.
Yeah, I flew. Hour and a half flight was better than a 12-hour drive.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the amount of time it's going to take for you to do it, and then gauge the value of your time versus the price of the ticket.
I mean, I did consider driving, just the fact that 12 hours was a great excuse to catch up on plenty of podcasts, but
yeah, it would take me multiple 12-hour drives to catch up on the number of podcasts that I need to catch up on.
Caitlin and I caught up on the Always Sunny podcast. That was actually our back and forth. That was just a good one. Never really listened to it before, but we were like, oh, okay, fuck yeah.
Plenty of time there.
Yeah,
18 hours each way.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But it was worth it in terms of what you just said. Like, you have to make that mental math of like, okay, how far am I flying? How far am I driving? Is this going to be worth it? yeah, 26 hours both ways for us, really. And yeah, I would have said 100% worth it. I got Don Michael Paul's phone number in my fucking phone now. That's so weird.
Yeah, lots of great connections and stuff made. I don't want to jinx anything necessarily, but so this will come with a disclaimer that nothing is guaranteed, but I would definitely talking with people. I did have a chance to speak with Michael Gross about this podcast right here and the possibility of him coming on, and it is not out of possibility. He
I swear to God, if you get him,
so
I get him, I'm gonna be so
right. He was definitely interested. Mainly, I think he would like to talk about the project that he is currently working on, which we don't know what it is. It's a secret as of right now. But because he was supposed to be there the whole weekend, and he ended up having to fly out Saturday morning, and he was only there to attend the first Tremors movie on Friday night because he booked a movie gig and had to fly back to the East Coast for that.
Which, okay, so I want to start off by saying, this is my intro. Michael Gross is the nicest fucking actor I've ever met. And honestly, all of them were. Every single, like, they were all amazing and great. I could not say that anybody was mean or anything, like, but Michael Gross himself, he was only there that one day, and he spent way more time than he needed to talking to everybody, signing things, just hanging. Like, he didn't need to be like that, and he gave every ounce of himself to that one day of Tremors Fest, and it makes sense why he's where he's at in his life and why he's made 7 Tremors movies. And
just the kindest. Took taking pictures and signing autographs and talking with people. Another kind of name that hopefully I can get on this podcast sometime to guest on a regular episode is our friend Zoran Gavoyich from the Dead Meat YouTube channel. I got to meet and know Zoran a little bit over the weekend, so hopefully we can have him on. I mean, we got to watch him interview Michael Gross for Dead Meat, and we were just sitting there watching this video being filmed and happen, and it was like, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, Zoran got interviews with everybody. I think I didn't see him all, but I think he did. I think he got interviews with every single actor or producer.
Yeah, I for sure saw his with Michael Gross, Don Michael Paul, and Steve S.S. Wilson. I saw those being done.
I saw one with Sarah Botsford, but you were too high to see that, apparently. Gladys, I think Robert Jane. Shit, he did one with me. I was really like, oh my God.
Yeah, I watched that one too.
What? This is so cool.
Yeah, so Michael Gross sticking around and talking with that, interviewing with Zoran, and then even just like hanging around, because I'm always the last person to leave things most of the time. I like to hang around. And so then just spending that kind of Friday evening with everybody to where there was like dwindled down to like almost nothing left. So then Michael Gross was leaving because his wife was like, okay, we're going.
Oh my God. I felt so bad for her after a while. She's like I know you really like this, but please, I'm very tired. Can we go?
But I think I even texted Daphne. She was like, well, how is all of this? And I was like, well, Michael Gross gave me a hug on his way out. So that's what I get to live with in my life now.
I think
he hug on his way in. Actually, that was like the first thing that happened. Like, hey, Levi, oh my God, I love you. Like, he gave me a hug. I was like, oh my God, I'm fine. Everything's okay.
Yeah. My life has only changed forever now, so it's fine.
I did ask you if you were floating at that point.
Maybe a little. It was really cool.
And not just because of the edibles.
That was the next night. Yeah.
I imagine every single person on that Friday night was absolutely floating. I can't, like, Michael wins MVP of the.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so I'm gonna have posted this stuff in the Tremors saga and like Tremors franchise fans groups and things so people can hear this. So if you're listening to this and you were there, love to hear what you guys thought as well. Or if you wish you were there and didn't make it this time, hope you're listening in. But so those who are listening, hopefully some of the names I'm gonna say decided to kind of like check out this podcast and listen, because I want to give some special big shout outs before we really dive into more of the weekend. I have to give a big love to Glenn Maddock for really like helping put everything together in a lot of ways and like kind of emceeing and running things. Of course, he is the brother of Brent Maddock, one of the main creators and writers of the the original Tremors and a director of the second one and some stuff. Brent couldn't be there for certain reasons, but his brother was there to really hold up a lot of stuff. So that was awesome. Big shout out to Glenn.
Director of 3, just as a point of fact.
Three, yes.
And Brent has a lifelong nerve injury that makes it really difficult for him to get out and do things. So just as a point.
Yeah, but then just big shout out to Steve S.S. Wilson being there and doing so much great stuff. Steve's awesome. Ron Underwood was amazing. Robert Jane, our love to hate him, Brat Melvin plug. Robert Jane was there and he was so much fun. Great. He brought his kids and just had
adorable.
Yeah. Robert was great. Don Michael Paul, the director of 5, 6, and 7. I loved that he was there and he knows that those movies are divisive to a lot of people and that he was playful about it. Where he was like, all right, like we got to the Q&A and he was like, all right, hit me with your worst shots. Let's go, people. Let's go. Like he was ready.
I know that a lot of people like to trash these movies or whatever. Really? I'm sorry. I was one of them. I'm sorry, Don.
Yeah, I was going to say that CGI in number 7.
Look, Daphne, as what used to be Don Michael Paul's most vocal critic, I will defend that man to the grave now. Like, I mean this. I fucking mean this. Like, I really will. Like, to the point where that's why I have his phone number. Was I like legit admitted, like, yeah, no, hey man, I was one of the ones that was trashing you, and I'm really fucking sorry. Like like then he's gonna come on the Talking Tremors podcast, and then, but I was just like it's that fucking cliche, but he did what he could with what he got, and I will defend Don Michael Paul to the
yeah. And that was a really interesting thing that you learn from like getting those Q&As and more inside information, being able to sit and talk to the people who made these movies that we love. I had a long conversation with Don on Sunday night, and we just talked about all the things that I thought about 5, 6, and 7, and like the questions that I had. Remember, Daphne, when we recorded 6, I wanted that practical graboid that was in the shipping container.
Yes,
it does exist somewhere. He said it's still in South Africa in a warehouse in case they ever need it again.
Okay, all right, that's good news.
Yeah, but just having all those conversations and learning things that we didn't even know, because I think since they're all direct, when we cover those episodes here on the podcast, you're like, and we don't have budget information, so we don't know. Well, then we get to find that kind of stuff out by talking to Don Michael Paul, the director, and Cher Stallings, the producer, for like the Universal 1440 producer that was like behind these things. It was like, oh yeah, we had a budget of like $3.8 million to do this. And then they kept cutting it and kept cutting it.
Wow,
that's less than what they had for the first Purge movie.
Yeah, no, it was low. Like it was pitifully low. Like even for Tremor standards, where like actually the second, third, and fourth movie were made for like 2 million, 4 million, and 6 million. So like it's even lower than that. And Pake didn't keep going, but I want to finish him for him, keep him on track here. Then Gladys Jimenez and Leela Lee.
Yes.
One of my favorite interactions of the whole weekend was when those two saw each other for the first time in 20 years. And I mean this, I gotta edit it out because I was recording video the whole time of just it was adorable.
That was awesome. Yeah, Leela and Gladys were great. And for people who don't know who that is, even Daphne really doesn't know, because they come from the Tremors TV series, which I think I'm deciding right now. I think we're going to start covering after we've run out of movies. We'll start finding a way to cover the series.
Are you making a decision without me?
I think
Do
so.
it. Do it. I vote. I second that motion.
But yeah, because they were on the TV series, the one season, so it was very short lived. But Gladys played Rosalita, and then Leela was Jodie Chang, a recasted Jodie Chang from
okay,
Back to Perfection. So yeah,
all right,
adorable.
They were awesome. Leela was there the entire weekend.
She was there
she was there for the cake party and stuff after Tremors 7, and I talked to her about that, and I was like, you're one of the only ones that stuck around for every single movie and everything. And she was like, she had never seen any of it. She didn't even know what Tremors was until she was cast in the TV series.
Oh my gosh.
So she had become a fan after that, but then she was like, I still hadn't seen all of them. So she's like, this is my chance to watch everything and get to know everything and meet all the people. So she was as much of a fan as a special guest that whole weekend, which was really cool.
She sat next to Michael Gross's wife, like for every single movie, and she was just cackling and laughing. It was awesome.
Wow, that's really cool that she was that into it. I mean, when we started covering the movies on this podcast, I'd only seen the first one. I had not seen any of the others because I heard they were bad. But
well, shame on you, Daphne.
No,
she's fixed it at this point. So
I have.
Oh,
he has now seen all of them because you watched 7. You watched Shrieker Island before recording this.
Yeah,
just so
I
we
wish
could
I
talk
hadn't.
about some spoilery things later.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't, only because of something that happens, and I wish I didn't know. Because now I'm just kind of like, oh,
yeah,
and I'll leave it at that.
That will be my spoiler alert for just Run for Your Lives listeners that listen to everything else that are just checking this out as a Run for Your Lives episode. I think we're going to spoil even the Tremors movie we haven't covered officially yet later because we'll talk about some stuff. But yeah.
I haven't even shown my nephews that one yet. That's the one I'm just I can't because
your wife was telling me how big Burt Gummer fans your nephews are.
Yeah.
Which again, I saw you taking that video where he was specifically talking to each of them by name, and like it was the most adorable thing. And he's so cool.
You're gonna be a star in their eyes. You are so gonna get tons of nephew points.
Oh,
tons.
I gotta edit it out so they have specific clips for each of their name or whatever. But yeah, they're gonna freak the fuck out on that one. I'm really excited. Because I loved it. My nephew Samaje is probably the biggest fan, and when we ask him, "Do you want Burt Gummer to be real?" and he has the best answer, "No, because then Graboids would be real."
Oh, that's adorable.
That's big brain energy, man. Good job.
That's so adorable.
All right. Well, how do we want to talk about this more? Because I said we're going to try to go kind of in order, and then we've jumped all over the place. But there's so much to talk about.
We talked about the people, so that's the overarching thing, and then now we can go day by day.
So I think we left out Sarah Botsford as well.
Oh,
Christine
Sarah
Lord
Botsford.
From Tremors 4, The Legend Begins.
Sarah Botsford, Harry B. Miller, Vanek. Oh God, I can't remember.
Vanek. Yeah.
Something. He was really chill and cool. Actually, that was really like.
So Vanek was the editor for 5, 6, and 7. He worked in tandem with Don Michael Paul. And again, talking to Vanek on Sunday night and realizing like some of the ways that with that budget, he had to edit those movies, especially 7 with Shrieker Island, where I was like, I could tell you were left with the tell not show on a lot of those scenes where you really just kind of had to have the threat off screen because you don't have a budget to show everything all the time.
Like I can imagine Zoran's, because he's got that joke in his kill count of the off-screen deaths, the fake ad, and I can tell he's probably just like, it was maybe a little too hard on I need to pull back.
That was funny to watch, was even Zoran talking to Don and being like, I'm sorry.
Because then Don was trying to fuck with me and Zoran for like the rest of the day, just like
you guys, my nemesis,
you fuckers that were fucking with. He even talked about that in the Q&A. Some Zoran guy from this like dead meat or something was like shitting on me. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
It was fun. So then when I had to bring up this podcast to Don, I was like, yeah, I actually have a podcast too. And he was like, oh, are you one of the other ones who's been trash talking me? And I was like, no, we're cool, Don. Don't worry.
No, you're not. I can vouch for you on that. No, Don. No, they were not.
we had fun with those. With all the Tremors, we have fun. We talk about them.
That was actually this will segue in. That was actually the most fun thing, was watching the movies in a theater full of people. You really realize that these movies need to be seen in a theater. Like there's a very visceral audience community related aspect to it that's just like you lose in watching them on direct to video or on your TV screen. And honestly, that was that first night when it just turned into the Rocky Horror Picture Show for Tremors, where everybody's yelling shit.
It really did.
Guys, and you were cheering, like
people, quoting along everything. I have a little video that I posted on my like Instagram and Facebook of Tremors 2 because I knew it was coming, and so as soon as the line was about to come, I hit record on my phone just to get the theater people going. I feel I was denied critical need to know information. Like it was, we were
and everybody did it. Everybody did it. Michael even talked about, actually, he did these great little intros to every single movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one, like, he's like, and the fan favorite line of denied critical need to know it. So when the movie came on, it was like, oh, you could feel everybody waiting for, here it comes.
Yeah. Which I did give that, shout out to Michael Gross again, that because he ended up having to not be there the whole weekend, that on Thursday night, I believe, he went to the brewery kind of across the street and filmed little vignette videos to introduce each movie before they played.
That's so really cool that he did that, because he didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was amazing. I actually got video every single one except for the Tremors 1 the Tremors 1 intro. I don't know why I didn't record it.
Because he gave that one in person. He just was down there with a microphone. Yeah.
Oh,
he was there for that one.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god, I felt like such a dick. Like why the fuck don't I have this one?
Yeah. He didn't have to film one in advance for that because he was there for the first movie, so he was able to talk about it in person.
But he did. He like recorded these like 7-8 minute intros just talking about his whole experience with the movie for each one. It was really very insightful too, actually. You kind of got more out of that than the Q&A sometimes, because they're just like he divulged his heart and his soul. And again, that's where I say good job, Michael.
Yes.
Like
the Q&As were a lot of fun.
What?
The Q&As were a lot of fun. After every movie, we'd stay in the theater for another 15 minutes or so and just do
it was
Q&A.
15 minutes to 45 minutes.
Depending on which director was giving the Q&A, yes. Ron Underwood and Steve Wilson were very much like, here's a few questions and let's get out of here. And Don Michael Paul's like, let's talk forever, which is great because it's great that he had so many questions and stories. He had so many stories to tell.
He wasn't answering questions. It was really adorable. I was sitting next to Cher Stallings, and when Don was giving his first Q&A, she's like, Don, you have to take questions. And he didn't like pick it up, and he just kept going. And I turned to her, I was like, actually, this is kind of great anyway. Like he's answering the questions without the questions. He's just just telling the stories. Like
yeah. Because it's very insightful and like interesting, like behind the scenes things that he was talking about, which was really cool.
Oh yeah. And then I have to say, it was really fun watching it, watching the movies with all of the people that made them, because they were all laughing and enjoying the movies just as much as anybody else was.
Yeah.
I was sitting right behind every time I was sitting behind Ron and Steve and Don, and just like seeing them giggle and laugh a lot, and even just like turning around and just being like, oh my god, everybody's really like into this right now. It's just
like to see moments where people would cheer, and because there was like one that like I think it was the first one in the first movie. I think it was Steve Wilson that said something. It was either Steve or Ron that said, they did the reshoots. People who know are big Tremors fans, like us, know that they went and reshot the ending where Val and Rhonda kiss. That wasn't originally in the movie, but then test audiences and stuff like, no, we need to make this in the studio. Was like,
kiss
and so they went back and put it in, and they still have always felt like, what could have been, should we have done that? Was it really the best option? But then when the crowd erupted there in the theater at the end of that, and he was at the Q&A, was just like, well, that's what I wanted to know, is like, here's the audience response that we've been waiting for on those kind of things. Like, we did make the right call doing this. Yeah.
They really should just, if they ever were to make more movies, they should probably just get you guys to come in and watch it and see what happens. I mean, because you're the best judges, right? You could be the test audiences.
All 128 people that were there. All right, we're gonna make a new trip. Come to the screening. I mean, we'd all love it. That'd be fine.
Give us anything and we're excited about it.
I think everyone would be critical. Honestly, that's what you learn from Tremors fans. I think we really would be quite critical, but also have a good time with it too. Like that was my biggest takeaway. It was a lot of fun. Those movies are meant to be fun, and everybody had fun with them.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
What else happened that first day there?
I went to Meow Wolf that day.
You know
Santa Fe.
You know how many people went to Meow Wolf? Like everybody. Like I've been seeing
a lot of people went on Monday because I remember I was wearing my Meow Wolf shirt on Sunday. Yeah, and yeah, a lot of people were asking me. Like I think Glenn ended up going maybe, and like some other people who were just there as or just as like fans were like, oh, I'm taking my kids and we're doing this and doing that. So a lot of people, I don't know if Zora and Megan ended up making it, but if they had time, they were going to go check it out. So
they said they were, so I hope so.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of like just looking at everybody's picks. I was like, damn it. Wish I made the time for that. That looked good.
Next time.
Okay. Let's see. What the fuck else? I'm trying to think of that first day. Oh, I gotta say this because it goes for the rest of it. Was that like it was so great to meet obviously all the cast and crew and actors and stuff, but for me it was like meeting people like Pake, like and like meeting Zora and the TikTok Graboid and a whole bunch of other people that I know from like online and actually being like
Mark from like the
I was so mad that I didn't realize who that was till the last day. Like I would have been all over him, just like oh my god, I love your forum so much. Like where were you? No, but Mark Davidson, the guy that made the Tremors Underground forum, was there, and it's a huge resource for any fan of Tremors. And I didn't find out who he was till the last.
Until literally the last night, the theater was like shut down, and we were like saying our final goodbyes, and then me and him were like hanging out outside talking, and you walked up, and then he introduced himself, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Well, because he was one of the few people that had the Seeking Perfection book, and I was like, I thought it was really cool. Honestly, that's one of my favorite pieces of Tremors media. And he's like, oh yeah, that's because like John called me out here at the end where I'm the Tremors Underground forum. I was like, ah!
Yeah, a lot of people brought that book to get it signed, and I have a copy, and I didn't even think to bring mine, and I was like, I should have.
Shame. Oh, that reminds me of the other person, if he ends up, I hope he does, but Zach Wiley,
the man with the greatest Tremors memorabilia collection that exists ever.
Largest and greatest. Like he's got everything. But he was an absolute pleasure to meet. I've been seeing him all over, and I just like, oh my god, thank you for being a great Tremors fan. Like that was my I love you. Hilariously, I actually have a piece of memorabilia that he didn't.
Wow.
It's the How to Survive Perfection book.
Uh-huh.
And he was picking it up just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, how the hell did you find this? It's like, that's my job, man. That's what I do. But I kept trying to get him to sign shit because it's like, hey, like, come on, like, you're getting all these guys to sign stuff. I want you to sign stuff. He's like, no, I don't want to diminish the value. It's like, it's valuable to me that you sign it. I don't care. Please do this for me. Thank you.
Zach was great. So let's see if anybody else is listening. Maybe you get called out. I'm going to give a shout out to Hunter Lurvy.
Oh, Hunter Lurvy.
Young guy who was there with did a lot of like fan art drawings that were incredible, and he had people signing them and was showing all of the cast his drawings, and they were all blown away by that. And as part of the costume contest, he was the only Black Hand Kelly we had the cosplay stuff, so that was really cool.
Who else? Oh my god, so this was really cool for me. I ended up meeting fans of my podcast. Like,
that's cool.
It's rare for me. I think I have like 20 listeners on Spotify, but they like one of them I was talking to, it was Mitchell Bennett or Bantine, and this is where I was saying the thing about it was amazing to meet Tremors fans, because on the last night he like, hey man, I just want to thank you because like I love Tremors like a lot, and I was really worried that I would come into this weekend and like I would be like the only one that like really loved Tremors a lot, but like you love Tremors more than anybody, and you just made me feel so good that like I love Tremors, but not as much as you. Like it was like, yeah. And then we were talking, and it was like, yeah, man, it's like my job, I run the Talking Tremors podcast, and he went, "That's you." I ended up getting a picture with him, and then Damian Sawyer Hammond ended up coming up to me afterwards and was like, "Hey, man, I really like your podcast. Can I get a picture with you?" Oh my God, yes! It was really just really neat. And then Daniel Trujillo, which is the TikTok graboid, his mom ended up coming up to me and was just like, "Hey, you mean so much to my son, and I thank you so much having him on your podcast and doing that." I was like, I just think your son's really cool. I didn't know I was doing anything. Like he does, which I would really, if I don't use TikTok that much, but if anybody, like, seriously, he makes amazing Tremors TikToks. Like it's just that, and he is fantastic in the edit. It's great to see where his brain goes and stuff.
But I think it's just at TikTok Graboid.
Yep, at the TikTok Graboid. He's on Instagram too at Instagraboid, which he's only recently started doing, so he has less stuff on there. But I would 100% like. I love you, Dan. If you're listening, I love you, buddy.
Definitely check that out. I don't think I met anybody who knew what this podcast was there, but we cover all kinds of other stuff. However, I think we hopefully made some new fans. So if anybody's listening, because I was plugging it, Levi had to tell me to plug it a lot.
I did.
I'd be talking to this group of people, and Levi would walk up and say, "Do you know he has a podcast? Have you talked to them about the podcast?" And I was like, "No, it hasn't come up." "How dare you not mention you need to?"
I guess that's good, Levi.
Him and Zoran were talking, and I came up and I was like, "Hey, did you know that Pake has a podcast where they talk Tremors like at the end of?" "Yes, Levi. You don't have to connect me with everyone."
Yeah, I had told Zoran.
I know, but I didn't know, so I was trying.
Yeah, but now again, and I don't know how many of them are going to like follow up and check out, but I know Don Michael Paul, again talking about him, was asking about it, and his son was also there with him asking about it, and so that's cool. That like maybe they'll check it out. Maybe especially we cover Shrieker Island. Oh God, if Don's going to listen to that one, you got to be nice. We're always nice.
We are always nice.
We're always pretty nice.
Peg, we were even nice when we covered Thanksgiving. And that was an adventure.
Yeah, we try to be very positive. Some movies make it more difficult.
Yes.
Looking at You, The Happening. Or Halloween Ends. But
oh man, those were rough ones for us. It was really difficult. Halloween Kills was not much easier than Halloween Ends either. Yeah, those were icky.
I hear their shit, so I don't blame you.
Not
discourse online to know that those are shit.
We'll just give the same advice that we always do. Watch the 2018 Halloween, and that's the end.
And just end it there. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Back to Tremors Fest. So yeah, I think Friday we pretty much summed up because it was just the first movie, and then we had the after party in the Tremors Lounge, which was cool to have.
After Tremors Lounge.
We had our Tremors Lounge, just a special room that was just for us, that was in the back of the theater, and it was, they had the signing tables and lines there, and all kinds of couple different memorabilia. Because Levi, you brought something. There's like a poster board you brought in where everybody who was there was signing.
So what that was Zach said something where he was like, "Hey, we should have a piece of poster board for everybody to sign."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, like we should get that." And Caitlin was like, "Hey, I'll run to Walmart and go grab that." And I was like, "You're the best wife ever. Thank you so much." And she did. She ran to Walmart and came back and got this great, it's poster board ever, and had everybody sign it. And I actually ended up with that. That's downstairs right now. Like, oh my God, sorry. the idea is that, and when Zach and I were talking, it was like, oh yeah, well, if we're gonna continue doing this, if the idea is to have this be a multiple annual Tremors Fest, then it would be great to have the first one, and then everybody sign this, and then next year we display that, and then have another one too, and then the next year we display all of them, and then just 10 years from now we've got 10 of these poster boards with everybody from every single Tremors Fest having signed. And yeah, that was cool. As far as everything I got signed, the fact that I got to take that home and be in charge of that for next year it's a very personal responsibility. Just like I will keep this and treasure this.
Yeah, and there was a couple other things set up in the lounge. I think Robert Jane brought like a in memoriam thing.
I wondered who brought that, because I saw that in some of the pictures that there was a memoriam.
Glenn actually made a couple poster boards of the.
Yeah, and there's different ones with like just pictures, behind the scenes stuff from all the different films and like different international versions, like posters and special things. There's a lot of like cool stuff to look at. We had the original puppet like model of the original Graboid in the first one. That was there. That was super cool.
The RC car.
Do not touch. Yeah, one of the Thor, the last surviving and working Thor RC cars from Tremors 2. That Fred Ward's character, Earl Bassett, was driving around while fishing.
Zach had one of the original posters because he's such a great collector. And then the poster that was displayed in the now showing outside was Zach's poster. Like he brought that to hang up in the marquee, which I thought was really cool of him. Very valuable piece that he helped like show off to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of more. That's pretty much Friday.
Yeah, so the lounge, because I know Daphne was asking about the lounge. So the lounge was just there for people to hang out after movies, and have a place to just kind of chill. And then we would have the signings at the end of the night, like the big, kind of get-togethers with people in that lounge. So the first night with with everybody that was there. Second night with like Sarah Botsford joined after Tremors 4 closed out that night, and other people in there. And then of course Sunday, Don Michael Paul and Vanek, his editor, and all those people were there, including George R.R. Martin coming in, and he had gotten a local bakery to do a Graboid cake, and he brought in and was serving cake to everybody on that last night, which was amazing, just incredible.
That seems so totally random, but you explained it to me that he's a really big fan.
He's a huge Tremors fan. He actually came in on Saturday just to watch 3, like the first one, and then of the day, and then the second one of the day, in the middle of the day, and then just like left.
It was so weird.
But yeah, because George R.R. Martin lives there in Santa Fe as well. He owns a theater and a bookstore just down the street from the movie theater we were at.
A railroad. That's actually how this all started. Was he bought a railroad with Michael Gross and the theater owner, and so then they all like got to talking about this. So. A fucking railroad.
Yeah, they were brought together.
Railroad. Like I don't get that.
Because I think Sunday night while we were there for like the cake party with George, somebody said, "Hey George, there's your train," and he turned around, looked out the window, and went, "Yay!" So that was like really, it was really cool.
So it's a Saturday.
Saturday was the costume contest after Tremors 3 after 3 we did in the middle of the day.
Yes, after 3.
So we did 2, 3, 4 on Saturday, and then Sunday was 5, 6, 7 with Don Michael Paul there for those movies he directed. So so after Back to Perfection, we had the costume contest, so there's another shout out. The winner of that, Rory
McLaughlin.
She was awesome. She like handmade her own Burt Gummer costume, like every piece handmade. So
cool.
My
gosh.
Oh yeah.
And
I love Rory. If you're listening, Rory, you won. You totally won.
It was awesome.
I tip my hat to you.
And then they had a runner-up prize, which ended up going to you, Levi, dressed up as Steve S.S. Wilson, doing your best S.S. Wilson impersonation right there in front of him. And after meeting him and talking to him over the weekend, I'm gonna say, holy shit, that was spot on.
So Peg, you didn't come up with a costume?
No, I did not. Or you could be the other one that was kind of combative with you for second place was Zoran, dressed up as himself from his Tremors kill count videos as the Bixby guy. So there's
Yeah. Otherwise, it was a sea of Burt Gummers, which is always fun.
Yeah. And then Hunter as the one Black Hand Kelly.
Black
Yeah, all the Burt Gummers with
fun.
like from different movies. We had like the Cubs hat one from 6 somebody had going on, and then we had like we had a TV series like Tactical Burt, and we had it was cool.
That was honestly Samantha Hollenberg took a video of the costume contest, and while I was doing my Steve impression, she like zoomed over to Steve, and he was just like, "This, I don't, I can't believe this right now. This is amazing. Like, wow,
there it is.
Holy shit." And Steve and I have become really good friends over the last 3 years. We email each other a lot, and I could tell he was just like, "So you're not lying when you say that you really love what I do." Yes, Steve, I sure fucking do.
Not gaslighting you this whole time. You are incredible.
No. Yeah. Although next year, I totally want to dress up as Burt Gummer's great-great-grandmother. The pitch that Michael had, like just to keep being weird and meta about it. Like, I would love to.
So for those who are wondering what that was, so we said Michael Gross gave these little videos before each movie, and so for Tremors 4 said he was going to come back, so we know he ended up coming back and playing Hiram Gummer, the great grandfather of Burt, who was a very East Coast dandy, as he says. And so his original pitch for a different character he come back and play was actually he wanted to play Burt's great grandmother. Like do the whole movie like in drag, but not as like a comedy thing, like play it completely straight.
Yep.
Where it's just like there's no goofy comedy to it. Like, no, Michael Gross is just playing a beefy woman character. Like that's what he's gonna do. Of course that idea did not pass through, and he ended up playing Hiram, but still it was incredible.
That could be so much fun though. That could have been great.
That's Tremors 10 right there.
Yeah.
That's my pitch. That would have been good. So yeah.
Yes.
That's next year. Next year's costume. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
And then
or somebody needs to do the costume of Michael Gross's idea for if he came back for an 8.
The scooter.
Because he's tired of running around and doing all the like action scenes. So he was like, I'm in a like a electric wheelchair the whole time, but it has the rockets from the helicopter in 5 attached to it.
It sounds like he's got enough creative ideas to keep this going forever.
Right.
So I have to say that was actually one of his intros to that was the intro to 7, because he was talking about that thing that happened. And he was like, I've actually talked to Kevin, and I have this idea that I pitched Kevin, and Kevin is 100% in. It's all about bringing back everybody, and it's the only, like, him and Michael and Kevin were like, this is the only way we really want to do it. If we're going to do this again, we're bringing the whole team back. We're going to bring everybody back, and which is really good to hear, because everybody's always like, oh, Kevin just wants to do it without anybody. And it's like, I don't know. If Michael is talking with Kevin, I'm going to believe Michael on this. Like, it's a whole thing.
I've read a few things that have indicated that Kevin definitely was interested in doing more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kevin Bacon's kind of in. I don't know if he would have shown up last weekend if he would have been available. I know Jamie Kennedy wanted to be there, but had comedy shows and things going on, but we did get like a little video from Kevin Bacon talking about stuff, so there was at least that.
From the 30th anniversary.
Mm-hmm, yeah, they played that, so it was like, we had a little Kevin Bacon cameo on the screen for a little bit.
He's there in spirit. Reba McEntire showed up all of a sudden. She was just randomly there.
God,
no,
I would have fallen over dead.
Yeah. Pake would not have survived that one.
No.
I got
to tell my like Reba McEntire story and origin, and like even like with my name and stuff to some people, including like Zoran, over lunch on Saturday. We had lunch together, and it was like, and it's funny because it's like, that's a really unique name you have, and it's like, well, let me tell you why I have that name, because it's kind of loosely Tremors related as far as Reba McEntire goes. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, what's your order? I gotta ask. I was so tired for lunch. I'm glad you got to go. So what did I miss?
Oh yeah, so I told this story on the first episode ever of Run for Your Lives, because Tremors was the first movie we ever covered, the first Tremors. So my name, of course, Pake, P-A-K-E, is my mother was a huge Reba McEntire fan. So dedicated of a fan that she knew the fact that Reba's brother, who I don't have his actual first name in mind because I just know him as Pake McEntire because that was his stage name when he recorded a few albums, a very short-lived musical career, but he went by the stage name of Pake McEntire. And my mother was aware of that, and that's what, so I'm named after the stage name of Reba's brother. So if I ever get a chance to meet Reba McEntire, that's like definitely an in for sure. Just the name is like, whoa. But and then of course my mother, just being a huge Reba fan, also reminds me of Reba in so many ways. This redheaded Southern woman. Of course, she unfortunately passed away when I was like 12 years old. So I've just kind of grown up. So like Reba is like this, like not like a mother figure, but like a mother memory, like in my head. Like she's just, so that is one of those things. Like if Reba ever showed up to one of these events, that would literally be the greatest thing for me.
Yeah.
She is, yeah.
Yeah. You would have to hold him up, Levi. You would. Because his heart couldn't take it.
Mm-hmm.
Consumed by the vapors.
Lord Jesus. I survived meeting Michael, so that's good.
Yeah, before Tremors Fest, we kind of not joked, but we kind of referred to this as Pake's pilgrimage to go to Tremors Fest because it's such a big deal to him, the movie series. So getting to go and be around other fans and having Michael Gross there was a really, really big deal. Which is why we're recording a very special episode about the entire event.
Yeah. Just
and
to geek out about it.
Yeah. My opportunity will come if I ever get to go to Kualoa Ranch in Hawaii. Because, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jurassic Park.
Yeah. If I ever get to do that, that will be my special episode.
Yeah, which now that Tremors Fest is supposed to be an annual thing, I think you even said you might be interested in joining.
I might, only if I have a few friends to take me through my experience, though.
We'll help.
Yeah. Definitely.
We could try. Yeah. I'll push you together. I'll be like, she is on a podcast with Tremors.
You know what? Peg knows this already. You won't need to prompt me. I'll take care of it.
Good.
Yeah. But man, it was such a great weekend. I'm trying to think. So yeah, really what the fest consisted of was just kind of watching the movies, and we'd have like an hour and a half to 2 hours between each one to kind of explore. So I explored the city of Santa Fe a little bit. They found some great like coffee shops and restaurants in the area. Went to like a comic book store. I spent so much money because I went to like George R. R. Martin's bookstore and got like a signed copy of Fire and Blood because all of his like stuff in there is signed, and a couple other books. So it was just fun to like experience because we were right there in like the rail yards, and so the trains running through there past the theater, and there's all kinds of coffee shops and breweries, and it was like a really cool little downtown area for sure. Like great spot for people to hang out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like I would recommend Santa Fe as a city to anybody. That was a great little spot.
Beautiful, and you got like, that views, and you got that wonderful surprise on Friday morning. The snow.
Oh yes. I wasn't. Yeah, that's another thing. It was, I knew it was supposed to be cold, so I brought some hoodies. I knew there's like a cold front moving through. What I wasn't expecting was to wake up Friday morning and have like a text on my phone from Levi going, "What the hell's up with all this snow?" And I was still in bed, so I got up and looked out the window and went, "Oh my God, everything's covered in snow!" It like just like completely like blizzarded down overnight, and it was all gone by like 4 o'clock in the evening, like afternoon. Like you wouldn't even know it was there anymore. Like it's just, it was gone. But yeah, I woke up Friday morning to just snow, which I did not bring shoes for that. That I'm wearing my
No.
Vans.
Those aren't appropriate shoes.
Yeah.
Being in New England, there are definitely much better options.
Like even the people who live there in Santa Fe that I was talking to that morning, because like that's when I went to the bookstore. So I walked through the snow over to the bookstore and this coffee shop and stuff. And even the people, like the residents there, were like, "Yeah, we're surprised by this. We didn't even expect this to happen."
And again, there was so all the Tremors fans. It was just a low hanging fruit of, oh, it's a cold day in hell now. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, time.
Cold
It
day
is.
in hell. But with snow, not sand. Sorry,
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah.
We forgive you, Don. We forgive you. Sorry.
We get it. Budget. And also those, I think we talked about this when we covered A Cold Day in Hell, Daphne, but the behind the scenes thing of they were supposed to originally film in Bulgaria with real snow, and the blizzard was so bad that they literally could not film there. And to kind of make the best of that budget, they had to go back to South Africa where they had already filmed. So yes, there is all of that.
Sometimes it's better to just go back to what you know and improvise when you have to.
And I think he said 38 or 35% tax rebate by filming in South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa was great for them. So you end up with sand dunes as the snowstorm, but you do with what you can with what you got, right? Yep. That's the theme.
I'm gonna get a button 3D printed with Bert's face on it, and just every time I click it, it says that. And I'll probably run out of battery by the time the weekend's done next time. I can't tell you how many times I said that, because just like just doing what I can, just do it. Jesus Christ, just doing the what I can't do this anymore.
Man, you know that the weekend though took a lot out of us.
Oh my God.
Say Zoran, I don't know if he'd want me to tell. I think he said he's probably gonna even include it on his like video on Dead Meat. But that was while talking to Don Michael Paul, because he was like, okay, we're going to talk elephant in the room. Like during that interview, he's just like, sand for snow. What's going on? And so Don told him the whole thing, but he goes, I mean, what? Don looks at Zorn and goes, I mean, what's Bert's catchphrase anyway? And he goes, and he froze. Like he was like, his brain was just dead. And he's like, out of everybody that should have known it, Zorn, what are you doing? How did you forget? And it was so funny. He was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. And then it took it and he composed like, doing what you can with what you got. And he's like, I promise I know what I'm talking about.
You have to sometimes. You make it work. Whatever. You have to.
Like whatever you do, you just gotta do it. Just get in there and do it.
Oh, so anything else on Saturday? Those movies. Talked about, I mean, that was 2, 3, 4.
I have to say, Leela Lee came up with what I thought was the best, because I've always wanted that Melvin redemption arc thing. That was my question.
Yes, that was a Q&A thing.
I love Leela's. She said it, and then when I asked Steve, he was like, "Actually, what Leela said is a really good idea." Was that if the series had continued, she would have wanted Melvin and Jody to get together and like work business wise. And I was like, oh my God! If you haven't watched the TV show, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty fucking solid, actually." And then working Melvin back into it, because Robert Jane's an amazing guy, and I would have hated him to like forever be hated, and just like, oh yeah, no, like how do we work Melvin in and to be one of the good guys? And
as much as we all hated freaking Melvin in Tremors 1 and 3, Robert Jane was just incredible, and I loved his story of in the first Tremors. Of course, you know, they blow up the first graboid and the goop goes everywhere, and we have the infamous line from Melvin, "Way to go, dude!" Of course, the crowd all went with, and so he had the greatest little story about that. I think I got video of that, him telling that story where he was like, that was in the script, and he was like, I'm not going to say that, because him being like kind of young, like teen kid while filming this movie, he's like, I'm gonna have friends who are gonna watch this, and that's so cheesy. I'm not gonna say "way to go, dude." That's so dumb. But it's like, let's just take one take of it, try it. And he was like, well, I'm gonna give the worst version of it so that they can't use it. So he just very like delivered it like that, "way to go, dude." And they
used it. Of course they did. Come on. Of course they were always gonna use it.
Yeah.
And now he's talked about this before. There's like remixes, like people have made songs out of
it's
it.
Like a Backstreet Boys like mashup thing with it.
Do.
And he embraces it now. He was even signing all of his autographs with "Way to go, dude, Robert James." So like he embraces it now, which is fun.
Way after the fact, because the first Tremors came out 33 years ago.
Yeah.
Man.
Feel old?
Always. I always feel old. Peg, how did you watch that? You weren't even in the womb yet. You had to wait till after.
I did.
His mom was just that big of a
yeah, that's how big of a fan Reba. I saw the movie before I was born, before it even. Yeah, no, you like broadcast it into the womb. Yeah, no. I was born. It's like your first words are graboid. No,
I would never be surprised if.
But I did watch that. My dad hooked me on Tremors at a very young age. Yeah, I mean, it was one of his favorites. I remember watching it with him. My dad had great movie, as much as he's such a Texas guy. I mean, he watches all of his his westerns, and he's a big western fan. And he's not much for monster movies and horror, but Tremors is a western movie at its core. And so I got my love of Tremors from him. But also he was a huge Star Wars fan. I remember growing up watching the original Star Wars trilogy on his VHS collection. He had the little 3-pack special edition, and I wore those out. So yeah, he has great taste in movies for sure.
Well, he suggested a movie for us to cover, but we
still haven't done it. We need
to. The Legend of Boggy Creek. Mm-hmm. It's from 1972.
I've actually watched that,
and it's on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, we've got to find a way to watch it and cover it.
We have to.
It's a weird Bigfoot kind of movie. It's kind of
yeah. He said it really well, I can't remember the exact words he used, but
yeah, I mean, he said it scared the shit out of him when he first saw it, when he was
it's been on the list for a long time. First came out,
yeah.
We went over our list not that long ago, and there's still over 100 movies.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's okay.
We run out of stuff to cover.
Yeah, we're not going to. That. New stuff keeps coming out all the time. Mm-hmm. Some great stuff coming this summer. So, unfortunately, not another Tremors movie.
Yeah. So I guess should we talk about that? So
we've done Saturday, so now we're into Sunday.
Sunday with 5, 6, 7. So Daphne did watch Shrieker Island before we recorded this. I told her it was optional. It's up to her. If she didn't, then we could avoid this stuff, but she chose to.
You're mean, Pake. You're really mean.
Didn't make her. But so those who have not seen it, here's a spoiler warning for you, because I know we have a lot of Run for Your Lives listeners.
Spoilers.
Cover all the movies, because we have not covered Shrieker Island on here yet. Because I know a lot of our regular listeners have kind of been like you, Daphne, and are watching these Tremor series for the first time as we go through them. So
yeah.
So with Shrieker Island, here's your big spoiler thing. Yes. So at the end of Shrieker Island, as far as it is known, that is the death of Burt Gummer. And
you didn't prepare me for that, Pake.
Yeah. However, even Michael Gross himself over the weekend said several times, was there ever a body?
Don said it too.
Don said it too. The director is there was not a body. It was not an on-screen death. We did not see a body. So there is always room for Michael Gross to return. And I think I talked to several people, and my headcanon that I like about it is finally Burt Gummer has an excuse to let everybody think he's dead, and he can finally get off the grid and be like, God damn it, people, stop pulling me to every corner of the earth to fight these graboids. I'm done.
Learn to fight by yourself.
Finally his chance, because he's Travis can handle it. Jimmy can handle it. Let them handle it. I'm done.
Back in perfection. Just
no, he wants to go back to that island far away.
He's just back in Papua New Guinea. Just leave me alone. I'm eating my grubs and I'm done.
He looked so strange in those scenes early in the movie, because he I mean, he's always got his hat and his tactical gear, and he's always ready to go. I was just blown away by that, seeing him like that, because I never really seen him.
Fun fact, which
running
I'm sure we
around
would
like that.
talk about it when we recorded that episode, and we will, I'm sure. But as you know, because it was confirmed again this weekend with the videos and stuff that Michael posted, shared and had shown. But yeah, so his hair and his beard at the beginning of Shrieker Island, completely natural. He grew out that on his own. They said they could do like prosthetic or like fake beard, fake, but since they were filming in Thailand,
Oh
he
my
didn't want
God.
to deal with the heat and the annoyance of fakes that wouldn't stay on. So he just grew it himself, and so he could like shave it off while filming the movie. Like, just he had it.
Oh
he was
my
like he was like my
gosh.
wonderful patient wife dealt with me looking like that while preparing for the movie. Yeah, while growing it out.
He looked like a crazy professor.
He did.
He did. His hair was all over the place, and his beard was out of control. It's like, my God. I do want to share one thing about the movie, though, that I did think. There was a point when Jimmy was traveling to find him on the island. Like, he was on a plane and in a boat. All I could think of is Jeff Probst was going to come out with a torch and give it to him because he's on Survivor. That I'm like, oh my God, is he going to find Bert, or is he, going to Palau or somewhere else to be on Survivor?
That's funny.
Yeah, that was my first watch big takeaway. It all looked so similar to what I've seen with Survivor.
Yeah.
Survivor, Graboid edition.
Survivor, Dark Island.
No, I like Shrieker Island better.
So with that ending, there is no plans. Michael Gross, and it was interesting to hear different people had different thoughts, because Michael Gross was like, there's probably never going to be an 8th movie, we're probably done. And then you have Don Michael Paul being like, I probably won't be involved in it, but I think it's going to happen for sure. We'll eventually come back. So like, different people had different thoughts on how it will continue, if it will continue.
Well, and then that's where the other big piece of
news, which is actually the news broke on Friday while we were there. So it's very fresh and very new. Yeah, and I assume we can talk about it because, again, Cher Stallings, the producer from Universal 1440, was there, and she openly was talking about it. So I think it's safe to talk about.
Yeah. You can say it or I can say it. It's up to you.
Why don't you?
Fuck. Okay.
I'm so intrigued right now as to what the hell is going on.
As the host of an entirely Tremors podcast, it's oh shit, fucking okay. Let's deal with that information.
Yeah.
But the production company Universal 1440, which has made Tremors 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, literally, and I mean this literally, on Friday, the first day of Tremors Fest, shut its doors forever.
The production company, the studio went under, is done, closed on Friday.
Closed. And
wow, that's pretty big news.
It's like I said, I've been trying to figure out how to word a statement and let people know about that, but I haven't.
It's interesting. Again, Cher was there the whole weekend. It's like right after your studio is kaput.
Boom.
But she's there talking to people and fielding questions and answering things, and it was really cool.
Actually, I was talking to her about Dave made Bill Watterson's Tremors 8, because I've actually been talking to Bill on email about it, and she was like, yeah, no, he was writing that script for me, and it really hurt me to have to tell him that we had to cancel it because this was going to happen. And she was like, he wrote a great script. I love Dave made a like, it's so funny when you're talking to someone about like, oh my God, so you love those same things that I do, and you're a producer. Oh, that's so cute. But she was really just like, there was some hurt in her heart about that. Just like, here we are at this Tremors Fest and we're celebrating Tremors. And before the weekend started, everybody's question is when's Tremors 8? When are we getting Tremors 8? Shit, I keep seeing people posting that on Michael's Facebook every time he like drops something. It's always you get like a dozen different versions of when's Tremors 8 happening, and it's just like, oh wow, like how do you go into that weekend with a smile on your face, being like, oh no, there won't be, because that really hurts. And that's where on my end, I'm still really hoping, and I know that they're still going forward on it, that Stampede is working to get the rights back.
Yeah.
With the lawyer that I've set them up with.
Yeah, that's the big news though, is when studios like that close down, it may take some time, but eventually the rights of Tremors have to go somewhere. And if Universal doesn't exist, or at least 1440, this subset, then yeah, do we get the rights to return to the original creators, which is Steve Wilson and Brett Maddock over Stampede? And do we have the rights to Tremors return to those original guys? And then if that's the case, well, then we have the team, the original team. We have Michael Gross is going to be on board for anything, no matter what. We have Kevin Bacon already stating he is on board if the original team is back on it. So then you can start questioning, and it's all just like, right now it's just speculation because nothing is guaranteed, nothing is sure. Right now, Tremors is just floating around in outer space ether with nobody being able to do anything with it. But you can hold on to that hope that maybe Stampede gets it back and we have Kevin and Michael and everybody. So it could be years from now, but something might happen.
It could happen. Because I just have to think that if they had ownership of it and are able to make a movie again, that would be the preferred way for the whole story to either end or a bridge to it continuing.
In my mind, that's like because of the way of what happened with Tremors 5, where they got kicked out in a sense. That would be okay. If you wanted to end it and not like, because it's not people, oh, it's the Burt Gummer story. It's like, no, hey man, like Michael Gross will tell you that he just happened to be the last man standing. It's not his story. And just like, hey, let's end this properly with the people that started it. Like right. That would be and then bridge what you just said, bridge into a new whatever.
It would be difficult to imagine Tremors without Burt, because Michael Gross has carried this for all 7 movies.
Yeah.
But I will say, I did hear, I wasn't me talking to Don. It was actually, so I'm giving a kind of a spoiler for Dead Meat if those videos all go up. But Zoran asking Don Michael Paul about things. And here's something that Don said in his interview with Zoran. Because it was kind of that like, okay, so Burt Gummer dies at the end of 7, and then to like quote Kelly from The Office, where it's just like, I have a question. First off, how dare you? But basically, and his excuse, which Zoran was like, I don't know if I still like that answer at all, but it is what it is. It's what he says. Is kind of his mentality and his idea for killing off Burt, possibly, is if we do continue this series. I mean, Michael Gross has been doing this for a long time, and it gives him the opportunity to step aside and let the franchise continue in new hands, whether that's John Heder, whether that's Jamie Kennedy, whether that's any number of people that can step in and take the role, and take the place, not really the role of Burt Gummer, but the role of kind of running and leading the future of Tremors. Then it gives Michael Gross an out to let Tremors continue in new hands with fresh blood. And I understand that too.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly would be okay with it. Just any Tremors is good Tremors to me. I enjoy anything that happens. So
I think Michael would honestly, Elsa would love that too. It's like, oh my god, cool, can you stop making these movies? I got to talk to her several times, and I do. Elsa, oh my god, she's a saint, absolute saint.
Yeah, Michael Gross's wife, because she was there even after he left and flew out.
He
was still hanging out throughout the weekend. So yeah.
Laughing her ass off too. It was like, okay, so you just get as much joy out of this as anybody else does. That's
yeah. Yeah, Michael flew off to work on some other movie, and she was still there hanging out with all of us all weekend. So yeah.
Well, I mean, she lives in this world. She lives with him. They're married, so she knows about all this. Like, it's there.
Yeah,
this has been a big part of his life.
Yeah. They've been married 40 years, and Tremors has been around for 33. So like that's
yeah,
long ass time.
She had a good 7 years.
Those family tie years, man. That was
That is where I knew him from. I saw Family Ties was a show that I saw him on. But way before. Bergamo.
I haven't ever watched it either. It's kind of, before
It
my
is
time.
very.
Come on, shame on us, man.
It's very different. It's very different.
So he knows Stephen Keaton is not Burt Gummer.
No, he is not. No, but also, I mean, it has a much younger Michael J. Fox. It's really, it's heartwarming. Yeah. But I mean, not Ted Lasso heartwarming, but it's heartwarming.
Don't get me started there. Oh,
I love Ted
Lasso. One thing I do want to say this. Okay, so we're on Sunday. The check mark that I never would have thought possible on my bingo card was becoming a huge fan of Don Michael Paul.
Right. I think this festival did so much for him because, Tremors fans, it's divisive. Like, most people really look at him coming in and doing Bloodlines, Cold Day in Hell, and Shrieker Island as ruining the franchise, taking what was good and just like, well, now the Graboids and the Shriekers and the Ash Blasters look different, and you've changed their like what they are, their biology, and you've changed this, and you're making all these weird choices with characters, and like people just feel like he ruined things. And for him to be there all day Sunday while his movies, and sit there in the theater and watch his movies with everybody else and answer and field questions and talk with people, but the way he was so open about, like I said, that Q&A started and he was like, let me have it. Like, let's go. I'll answer anything you've got. Like, he was very open and kind of joking about it. He was like, some of you people probably hate me, so let's talk about it. Let's go. And I love that he was open to where I think you and Zoran both were like apologizing to him, be like, after meeting you, I love you.
I was already talking about it at the beginning, but it just like, oh my God. So I was one of those ones trashing you, and you now have earned a lifelong fan to the point where so we're talking about the future here of Tremors, and it's just like, it made me so sad to hear that Don Michael Paul has never really gotten to have a conversation with Ron and Brent and Steve or any of the
which is interesting. He said he hadn't met them, like they were there the day before, like, but they weren't there on Sunday. He was, and they kind of took off, and I don't know if it was purposeful that they were not in the same rooms at the same time. If there's some bad blood, I'm not gonna speculate. I'm not gonna.
I know enough behind the scenes stuff to be like, I feel like someone somewhere was trying to keep you guys apart, and that's where I ended up talking to Don, and it was like, Don, I have these guys' emails. I am going to do whatever I can to like get you guys talking to each other and in the same room, because he had nothing but respect and reverence for them. Like, absolutely. Like, it made me so sad. Like, just like
he had something that he had huge shoes that he had to fill with those 3 movies.
And he told a great story where the Universal exec Patty Jackson, when she first came up to him and was like, hey, I want you to direct these Tremors movies. And he was like, I don't think I'm the right man for the job. I don't think I can do this. I'm not, this isn't my wheelhouse. This doesn't seem like the thing he was directing Sniper 2 and Jarhead.
Yeah, he
2.
did Jarhead and Sniper. Yeah, like that's
I found that to be a bit odd. Like,
he was doing war movies and action movies.
Even he thought it was odd, but like to be able to say that, and that's where he was winning me over, was just like, I don't think I can do this, but I'm gonna do what I can with what I got, and doing it, and that's and watching his movies on the big screen and watching the other ones, it made me realize that, okay, so Tremors 1 through 4 in the TV show, these are writers' movies. These are like very well written, like these are like great story movies. And then 5, 6, and 7, these are directors' movies. And he has his vision is absolutely huge. Like watching his movies on the big screen, like it having them on the little one does no justice to him. And you can see why people would be divisive on his movie, because it is huge. He's a big guy, but I don't mean this. He's a huge person, a huge personality, and that instantly translates to what you get on screen. And it's just like, like
you can see like the ridiculousness of Jamie Kennedy in those movies, which is Jamie being the comedian that he is and riffing on things. But that character and those ideas, that's Don. That's Don's humor. That's
listening to like it's all him, and then even they talked about everything behind the scenes incessantly. Like he always collaborated with Michael, trying to figure out the best story, moving things forward. And it's just like, oh, so we've got two different concepts at play here. We have the writers' movies and the directors' movies, and I would love to get you both in the same room and working together. And then in my pie in the sky world is that we turn Tremors into Fast and the Furious, where it's just like when you get $100 million budget, these things are insane, but it's all about the family, like but it made me so sad to hear that from him, that he was that close to them, and then there was some force keeping them apart.
Yeah, whether it was on purpose or just happenstance. That I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 happen Friday, Saturday, and then all those guys left. All the Stampede team left, and Sunday it was just Don Michael Paul's movies with just Don Michael Paul and his editor and some of his writers and team. But like it just swapped that way.
It was like what Caitlin and I were talking. When we were talking in our podcast episode we just did, where it's like it felt like being the kid of divorced parents, where it's just like, okay, so we're hanging out with mom, and we're having a great time with mom, and then mom left, and we're still in the same building, but now dad's here, and we're this isn't awkward at all. no, we're fine. So if I could, in terms of my powers that I have, in terms of everything that I do, as whether it's me or another person, that's my goal. I want those.
It would be cool to get Steve and Ron and Don like together, and hopefully it would be beneficial and it would be something good.
Oh, I think so. I think it would be for both parties, because we're talking about that divorce thing, where it's just like I think if you guys got in the same room, you'd really find you have a great common ground with each other, and that would just. I was telling Don, oh man, I would have loved to hear you and Ron just like swapping director stories, because you got what seems like different but very similar backgrounds in terms of like what you've gone on and done, and just like like Ron, and I didn't realize till Ron and Don. That seems like you guys should be in the same room together.
Yeah.
But
another thing with Ron Underwood, I got to like talk with him about that first night, just because I watched this movie a billion times. It was one of the movies that like I held on to as a kid. I never realized Ron Underwood directed it until it came up in the Q&A. But Tremors was like his directorial debut. But then he went on and did a movie that didn't do so well, but is one of my childhood, comfort zones, Mighty Joe Young. I loved that movie as a kid. I watched
it in theaters.
And so like that's another one of those VHSs I wore out as a kid. And so I didn't even realize he directed that until somebody mentioned it at the Q&A. And so then when I met him in the lounge after, and I was just like, also thank you for Mighty Joe Young. I didn't know that was the thing, but cool.
I was gonna say they direct Heart and Souls is actually one of my favorites of his that he did with Stampede. It's got Robert Downing Jr. playing a bunch of different people with Keira Sedgwick and Tom Sizemore.
Nice.
Yeah, I do. Like they make good shit, and that's where like let's be nice to Don, let's be nice to Ron, and get these people in the same room together. That would be a great world to live in.
Because even if they have very different ways of doing these things and these characters and these stories, there is a love for the source material, I guess, the first movie and those characters and that world that definitely is clear to see with all of them.
Yeah,
or they wouldn't have been there this last weekend. They wouldn't have shown up and met fans and answered questions if they didn't care about what this is.
Right.
Like absolutely, that was on all of them, every single person. Like there was not one that was not excited to be as excited as the fans to be there, which is really interesting. Just like, oh wow, you love this as much as we do. Thank you.
It was cool. I'd never seen a single Tremors movie in theaters before, in a theater. And it's like, I mean, almost nobody there have ever had, except for the people old enough or involved in the first one when it had a short theater run.
Sorry, now I'm trying to think of other things, but I think honestly we've covered it now.
Yeah, I think so. So maybe if Daphne has any other follow-up questions, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Gone on and on and on.
Do I get to ask questions? Truly?
Yeah, if you've got any, I don't know.
Well, I know, and I think our listeners know, Pake, how you started watching these movies. Levi, what about you? What drew you to this movie series?
Do you want like from the beginning or where I'm currently at now?
Wherever you want to go.
The first Tremors movie I ever watched was Tremors 2 Aftershocks. And it was the weirdest situation where my mom and my dad, we were at a gas station. I feel so old when I say this, but I'm only 32. Like, remember when they used to like rent movies at the gas station?
Yes.
And my mom was like, "Oh, hey, there's this Tremors movie, and it's got Kevin Bacon in it." And so we picked it up and like took it home, and it was Tremors 2 Aftershocks, and there was no Kevin Bacon.
I was promised bacon.
So she like zoned out, and I think my dad zoned out too or whatever, but I instantly fucking fell in love. Like, it was just like, oh, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. Like, what is this? And it wasn't for like another 10 years until I watched the first Tremors movie. And in my mind too, it's this weird thing where like I actually think that Tremors 2 is the first Tremors movie. Like, I still can't trade that out in my brain because it would even show the trailer before the movie, and it was Tremors, but I was like, oh, so is that like the sequel to this one? No, that's the first one. And so then from there, honestly, then it was just like I ended up watching Tremors at a friend's house like 10 years later, and was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Then it was watching Tremors 3 when it first came out. I got to watch Tremors the series when it aired on Sci-Fi. Like, when it originally aired on, I made it a point. That was one of the first times as a kid I was ever like, I have to be home on Friday night for the Sci-Fi Channel and watch this. And then Tremors 4, and that's where honestly I think Tremors 4 is probably my favorite movie because I got to premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it was like I got to watch that one as it premiered.
That was Saturday night. Tremors 4 as otherwise mentally in whatever place I was in. Let's just say there's things in New Mexico that are legal that aren't here in Texas, and I took advantage of it. But even then, man, because I had to ask you and your wife, and I think Zoran the next day on Sunday, I was like, was it just me being inebriated in a certain way? Or was the crowd the rowdiest and most excited for 4?
And that may have been my fault a little bit.
But everybody really was like the laughing and the quoting and yelling things out. And then even at the Q&A, I still was kind of aware enough in my brain to like remember things from the Q&A. And just so many people saying, I just want to say this is my favorite movie. Like, it's so many people's favorites is 4, which I get because holy shit, I love 4 as well so much. So yeah,
it's so weird. It veers off formula while staying on it at the same time. I even had to tell Ron afterwards because I yelled out when it started, Tremors 4 is the best Tremors movie.
Yeah.
And it was like I went up to Ron later. I was like, hey, listen, man. I mean, Tremors 4 is the best one, but you did a great job. I just wanted you to know that we wouldn't have a Tremors 4 if you didn't do such an amazing job.
Right.
Like, forgive me, but also if 4 wins, I mean,
4 is just it's so good.
Do you think 4 is better than 1?
Okay.
Do you like it more than 1? I mean, which one is your favorite?
I still think for me 1 probably tops. Like, if I have to pick, I can only watch one Tremors movie. Like, it's gonna be the original every time. But like 4 is incredible.
So I pull back and I use my lens. Objectively, Tremors 1 is that perfectly written movie. That's why we have this franchise now. And from a structure, like filmmaking, all that writing, it is that perfect movie. But Tremors 4, it's not a perfect movie, and that's kind of why I love it, is that it had all of the cards stacked against it, and it still delivers this amazing, like, I was gonna say coup de grace, but that's not the right word.
I look at it as like, even though it's a prequel, it's like 1800s. Bert is not there. Michael Gross is playing a very different character, and it's
So
like all
different.
these weird things. But even though all of that is in play, it's still like a return to form, because you don't have the shriekers, you don't have the ass blasters. We're not metamorphosizing the graboids in their different life cycle forms. It's like, no, it's a return to just we have the little dirt dragons, which are mini graboids. There's something different. There's still a little flavor, but it's like, we're back to the basics. We're back to graboids. We're back to people learning for the first time what this is and how to deal with it.
It's a town of people working together, which is what I love about the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That different ideals and everybody coming together and working. And that's where so Zoran asked me in my interview thing, so what do you think Tremors means? And I paused because it's such a big question. I was like, I think it's humanity, because humanity is both horrific and hilarious. And like, what we've got to learn is that, like, we're all in this together, and we're just a town of people fighting monsters, both metaphorical and literal. And all that matters is each other and what you can do with each other in this life. And Zoran just started laughing. He's like, I literally could not have put that better myself. And I was like, it's my job, man. Sorry. But it is just people. People is good.
So if you had to, I know Pake's favorite character is Burt Gummer. Who is your favorite character?
Earl Bassett.
All right.
Good choice. Fred Ward.
It is.
Rest in peace. Those first two movies, just, I mean, there is something special about the character of Earl for sure.
It is. Well, and I always have to point out that so the theme of Tremors is plan. You got to have a plan. Got to have a plan. Got to have a plan. Who's the guy that instilled that theme? Earl.
Yeah.
Earl explained it to me. It's like, we wouldn't have that core tenet of Tremors without Earl. And like I said, Tremors 2 Aftershocks was the first one that I watched. And I'm not gay or anything. I may be trans, but I like my ladies. But I totally understand why Fred Ward is sexier than Kevin Bacon. just as people are always like, oh, Kevin's hot. And I'm like, I mean, is he? Because there's Fred Ward. Like, what are you talking about?
What do you think Fred Ward would have thought of Tremors Fest?
Honestly, I think he would have been the biggest. If Michael was a huge fan of it, I think Fred would have gotten an even bigger kick out of it. Just like, is it really happening? Because of us? Oh my God. This is, for everything that I've gotten from him in interviews and stuff, he's the most down to earth. It would have been a combo of Michael's enthusiasm and Robert Jane's humbleness, which is really, I wasn't expecting that from Robert. That was actually really cool. Just like, but I think Fred would have gotten almost a bigger kick out of it than Michael would, just seeing how far it came and just like his legacy and being like, God damn, this movie about worms and fucking here we are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh yeah, another question we had while covering the movies that I got answered. I didn't ask the question in the Q&A, although Glenn did tell me he really liked my Q&A questions when I did have them. But then I didn't have one for 4, but somebody else asked one, which was good. And then I didn't ask anything on Sunday because I just had all of my questions directly for Dawn when we were chatting one-on-one later that night. But the one that for 4 that somebody asked that, or I don't even remember what they asked, but it led to Steve Wilson and Ron Underwood talking about, because there's the scene in the 4th one, because I remember when we covered 4, Hiram Gummer, you know, Michael Gross like jumps out a window and he lands on this like box underneath the window really hard and like hits the back of his head on it. And it was like, because I remember us going, was that like an accident that made it into the final cut, or was it like a purposeful stunt? And then it reminded me of the first Tremors where we have, you know, Kevin Bacon, you know, he Val elbows Earl in the chest and jumps off the roof to take off after the, or, you know, away from the lawnmower, and he crashes through that like overhang on the roof. And I was like, again, I'm like, was that a planned stunt with a stuntman, or did Kevin Bacon just eat it? Like what? And I'm wondering, and the question came up, and Steve and Ron were talking, and there's kind of a little known thing that they kind of had a bet with each other in those like first 4 movies. Can we put a stunt in each movie that looks real and people won't know whether or not, like, to have that question? So it was a purposeful done thing with a stunt person, but they did it on purpose to make people like us with podcasts and like fans question, oh God, is he okay? Like they really, so it was cool to actually get that answer of like, oh no, they intended for it to look exactly like that because they wanted a stunt to look like not a stunt. It's like, that's cool.
And it made me, now I got to watch 2 and 3 to find that.
To find those, yeah.
Find the stunt
Because 1 and 4 stick out for me very. I'm like, yes, I can picture them immediately in my head. So, yeah.
So, if you were cast to be, and this is for both of you, I've had and I'm taking this part out, but I've had a lot of experience in the last 4 months of doing interviews, so I can think of questions on the fly.
You're pretty good.
Okay, so if you were cast in Tremors 8, what type of character would you want to play?
Pake, you want to go first?
I guess I'm thinking, I mean, I'm trying to think like, what do I embody the best? And I almost feel like I could be kind of like a Jimmy, like John Heater's character a little bit, to where it's like, I'm the like goofy, like I probably would be like a podcaster or like review, something where it's just like, I would be like, in the world of Tremors, I think I would be a Burt Gummer super enthusiast where I have a like Gummer Watch podcast or something where I podcast about the, adventures of Burt Gummer, and I'm a huge super fan. And then I get a chance to meet him and I'm just like barely able to contain myself. And then I get like stuck in the situation where I have to work with my hero to survive the graboids, and like I'm getting in the way, and it's like, oh my God, out of everybody I could have been paired with like in the group, you're the worst. Like I'm a terrible survivor. But by the end of the movie, I finally have like a really badass like moment where I like, holy shit, I did it, I actually killed one. And then I probably get killed like immediately after. Like, like
that, oh my God, I can see you. Having seen you do the fist bump that I won't let you forget, I can totally see you do that.
That's like a whole other thing.
That we'll after we're done recording.
Yeah. There's another celebrity that I met that the interaction didn't go as well because I decided to walk up to him and be like, hey, give me a fist bump because I'm a fan of you. And I interrupted him having dinner with his family and he was not very pleased.
Oh.
No. But that's,
Adventures with Pake. It's a thing.
And she'll never let me live it down.
I won't.
She was there to witness it.
I know. And I have to be there to witness him, like, right the wrong.
If I ever meet him eventually. Again,
yeah. Yeah.
So this is why I let Pake go first, because I knew what your answer would be, Pake. I'm a good people reader. But you actually, listen, folks, you got to watch Tremors the series. All right, this is where this answer comes from. Mm-hmm. But there is a character in Tremors the series, Larry Norville, who is exactly that. And it was actually going to be my answer, where it's like, I would love to be the Larry Norville character, where he's just like, I showed up to perfection. Like, you guys are out here. You're like, behold, the mighty El Blanco. I mean, you can't get that anywhere else. Like, just like, and Larry is absolutely a Burt Gummer super fan. And I'm talking about if I was cast too. So this is a double answer, also explanation. But it would just love to be that Larry character who, like, oh my God, I love you guys are like hunting graboids and shriekers in the air. I want to do that too. And this is so cool. And he even actually moves to perfection in the like he first visits it, but then he like, oh, I just moved here because like what, like, I'm sitting on my couch and like I'm thinking I'm in like Skull Island or elsewhere or here. So I thought, why don't I just move to where I'm at all the time? And so like he moved to perfection. And I would like, and Larry, I would love, there's that great character arc where he's just like, oh, you're annoying. You love being in perfection way more than anybody else does. but also at the same time you become useful and like, okay, so there's some value to you as part of this group, not just being a nerd, but being someone who would actually selflessly give your life to doing what like we do. Larry has a great move at the end of an episode where he just like he sees a monster about to like spit things out, and he just jumps and he takes off his coat and he does this great leap over top of it and saves the day. And it's just like that would be so cool. And yeah, to be the meta-ness of it, of just like, oh my god, I love you guys, but also like, cool, how can I help you too? This is great, let's do this together. Yeah. So watch Tremors the series and
Yes.
get up on your lore, because
and that was character. Talking to Gladys and Leela over the weekend, it really, and then other people talking about it, I was like, I have watched the series once, and it made me realize, I was just like, I really need to revisit that. And so I think this podcast is a great way to do it. I mean, we have Shrieker Island left at the end of this next season, and then we don't have Tremor stuff to do, so we might as well do.
We don't. We've been talking about what on earth we could possibly do. Do we start another series of movies, or do we find something Tremors to do?
I feel like if we can keep the Tremors train going, like, so go through the series and then like try to get interviews. Maybe we get Michael on, maybe we get Robert on, maybe we get different people on to do stuff.
That would be tons of fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing interviews for you with Don. Don, Pake has a podcast.
Oh, he knows. He knows. We talked about, we talked about that.
So if you had to pick one moment from Tremors Fest, just one moment, you only get one for the whole weekend. Not that's your favorite, but you think encompasses the whole spirit behind the event. What would it be?
I think I have to go with what we talked about, that first movie, Friday night. I mean, definitely meeting Michael Gross and talking to him, but not even just that, but like with Ron and Steve and Robert and Michael all sitting there at that table together, and Leela and Gladys sitting at the side, and just people walking through, because it wasn't like I've been to so many conventions and I've been to all kinds of different events where there's celebrities there, and it's just kind of like, oh, there's them and us, or, you know, you're paying these exorbitant amounts of money for a quick autograph and move on. And there was none of that. I mean, it was free. I mean, they're just there taking time out of their lives to sit there. And it wasn't like, okay, autograph, move on, autograph next. But all of them were taking the time to take pictures with people and talk to people and listen to their stories and get to know us, the fans. And so I think that like first night, that Friday night in the Tremors Lounge, TM, no, but that was really, I think, what sums up that whole weekend. Is it was the fans and the like cast and crew and people behind those movies coming together just out of adoration of what Tremors is. And it didn't feel like there's the celebrities and then there's the fans. No, we were all there together, one big Tremors family, just enjoying what it was and getting to know each other. And so I think that really sums it up.
Shit. I mean, it just kind of stole my answer, so I gotta pick something different. Fuck. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear so much.
No, swearing is allowed on this podcast. I do it. Pake does it. It's just part of Run for Your Lives.
Dick licking sons of bitches. Okay, so part of me wants to pick the moment with Don and all that, but that moment that Gladys and Leela met each other for the first time in 20 years. Like,
since filming the series, yeah, that's
like I talked about it earlier, but just like, I mean, it's great for us as fans to get together and meet these people, but to really realize the humanity of the people that you see on screen, that they are just people too, and that it was just like two girls meeting after summer, you know, just like they hadn't seen each other in months and absolutely freaking out. And then what Pake was saying, where it's like they sat next to each other for the Q&A, sat next to each other in the theater, sat next to each other in the theater, and then sat next to each other signing autographs, and they were just
hosted the costume contest together.
Yeah, they did.
The costume contest was the winners, and everything was run by Gladys and Leela, and then Robert Jane was on the mic announcing everything.
Yeah.
So it was like the actors were running the costume contest. So it's.
Did you ever think you would be in that situation where you'd be at a meetup or a gathering or a festival devoted to something that means so much to both of you?
No, I never expected this to happen, and that's why when Levi and like Tremor Saga and stuff was posting on Twitter about it and the connection, I was like, seriously, that's going to be a thing? And I knew I had to be a part of it.
Of course you did.
Having seen everything that I've seen and seen the reunions and the anniversary stuff, there's a part of me that saw it on the horizon but didn't know that it would become such a thing, to the point where it's very clear now that this will be probably happening year after year, whether in Santa Fe or whether elsewhere. But it's one of those, like I said, once some people on the internet start posting about it a little bit more, you can see the numbers of it and be like, okay, this is actually a pretty good idea. I can imagine other theaters will reach out and be like, hey, can we have Tremors Fest at our place? And it'll become a bit of a bidding war in that sense.
But you'll always be able to say that you went to the first one, even if you go to all the others. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to say, I was at the first one. Yeah. That's my signature right there. I was part of the beginning of the revolution.
It's a big deal, man. You got to put your foot in the door somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And watching people that from on screen being real people would be my highlight of everything. Mm-hmm.
That's always a big deal when you see them in person and you realize that they're a person, their blood and skin.
In that aspect, this is one of the weirdest things I have to say. I did not realize Michael Gross was so tall.
Yes.
Okay. He's like 6'5", and there is no indication of that in any of the movies or TV. He is huge. Huge. And then when I was getting a picture with Ron, and I didn't realize it till I was getting a picture, and I was like, oh my God, Ron, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how short you were. And I was like having to get down. I was trying to make him feel better by like, oh no, let's get a picture where we're at eye level. Like this is like there's Michael over here and then Ron down here. It's like, whoa, okay. I gotta rejigger expectations a little bit.
Yeah, so to the first of hopefully many Tremors Fests. I'd love to have more. So people who are listening, if you're a fan of Tremors, whether you're listening to this podcast, or if you're somebody who's a fan of Levi's podcast, if you're a Talking Tremors fan who's checking this out, or if you're somebody on the Facebook groups that I have posted this in, I'm sure that is listening, whether you were there or you missed it but want to return, I highly recommend, get out and check these things out if they continue on, and I will make sure to keep you updated on that stuff when I know things. But I also hope, not just fans, but maybe, with guests. Can we get Kevin? Can we get Reba? But even on the smaller things, Sean Christian and Chris Garton, which, Grady and Desert Jack, different people. Can we, I think Finn Carter wanted to be there and stuff came up.
He was
so
this close.
We almost had Rhonda. But, things come up but now that if it's an established thing, people can kind of set up better planning and schedules to try to make it. And so I hope that it is bigger. I hope that there's more fans and there's more cast and there's more people to really make it something special.
That's where it's taking me forever. I have to do it like every other couple of hours, but I've been trying to upload all the pictures I took to the Tremors Saga's Facebook. And it's just like, shit, man, I have like 2,000 fucking pictures I took. Because I love to take the video, but then I snap pictures at the same time. So I uploaded all those videos and it was just like taking all these pictures. And I realized like, oh, this is a great promotional thing where it's like, oh, what was Tremors Fest? Boom. That was Tremors Fest. Do you want to be a part of it next year? Fucking do it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I think you need to make a video with clips and pictures and all of that stuff. Like, a hype reel of everything that happened and build up more interest in it going forward.
Oh, yeah. That's where I say right now I'm currently already working on the emails and just being like, all right, this is happening next year. What do you want to be in? Let's go.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a fantastic time. Pake really didn't talk too much about it before we got on to do this podcast. I really wanted to hear it, from both of you at the same time and be able to react to it. So it was a lot of fun to hear you guys went through there, experienced all the fun stuff.
Oh, I can hear your FOMO. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I can hear it in there just a little bit. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
No.
Gotta have Daphne come the next time.
Yep. Maybe I can come the next time. I'm sure Peg told you I go on a lot of different adventures throughout the year, or maybe he didn't tell you.
No, Peg did not tell me.
Another
thing he doesn't talk about.
I have lots of adventures. Last year we went to Vegas. Peg and I went to a year ago to go to Double or Nothing wrestling pay-per-view.
Ooh,
that was fun. Yeah,
was.
Yeah, and I traveled to do one of my other side gigs, which is figure skating photography. So I go to events as a member of the media. Yeah, so that's another thing. And I podcast. Yeah, I do a lot of different things. I have lots of adventures.
That sounds fun. Oh man.
It's different. It's not everyone does it. When you tell people that you're a photographer, people usually, oh yeah, okay. What do you photograph? Well, I do portraits and I also shoot figure skating. That's the thing that always is like, really? That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. You need some high-speed cameras for that.
Yep, got a couple of those. Yep. So
what else do you need?
I think, I think
trying to put a bow on the box and wrap it up for you.
Well, we have our outro, but I don't know how to end. Yeah, Pake, you figure it out.
It's on me. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, there's not really much else to talk about. If other people are curious about things, definitely find me on either Run for Your Lives on socials, or me or Levi, the Tremors Saga on Twitter and things. Just find people who are there and involved and ask if you've got any more questions, if you need any information, if it's continuing on, if it's happening again and you're interested, let us know and we will keep people informed. But yeah, I guess just to sum it up, it was an awesome weekend. I wasn't sure what to expect, and it was everything it needed to be and more. It was a lot of fun. And I hope to do it again for sure. So with that, I think we've kind of talked about everything. Hopefully that was fun for you to listen to. That's just like nerding out, geeking out about such a fun weekend. It's something a little different for this podcast. We're not breaking down a movie. We're not talking about a movie. We're just like nerding out about a really fun weekend that revolves around my favorite movies. So
yeah,
it was cool. So again, thank you so much, Levi, for taking the time and being on here and talking about that. And thanks for being such a warm individual to spend a weekend with and see over the course of the weekend and hang out with and talk with. You're one of very many amazing people that I met and connected with over the weekend. So,
well, thank you, Daphne and Pake. Thank you for having me on. Same back to you, Pake. I still kind of kick myself for being too tired to go to lunch. So that's next time.
Yeah, we plenty of time in the future. Yeah. Have to go to Opuntia. That place, man. Give them a little shout out. A little restaurant, like cafe across the street from the theater. It's like you have to go up a flight of stairs. It's on like a second story of a building, and there's like a really cool little balcony.
It's like a jungle cafe.
Yeah. It's like a greenhouse, I think is what Megan said. It looks like it's really cool. So I ate over there a few times. 3 times. Because I went by myself on Thursday. I had lunch with Zoran and Megan on Saturday. And then Monday, before my flight back home, I went back over there and got some more food.
Oh, damn.
It must have been good if you kept going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to this episode and you want to send us feedback, or if you listen to any of our other episodes and you want to send us feedback, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run for Your Lives Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at RFYL Podcast. Email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much all other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need. And give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do. Love it a lot. Love any feedback. Love anything like that. Of course, speaking about sharing the love, you have a couple shout outs to other things you can listen to in the podcast universe around us. My other podcast, Strange Indeed. Of course, we are now back, me and Rima, covering season 2 of Sweet Tooth. The season 2 premiere is up and out. We've talked about it, so you can go check that out now. And I'm just so excited to be back in the world with Gus and the big man. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm so glad to be back on Sweet Tooth. That show is just adorable and heartwarming and terrifying times too.
It really is. And you guys, that you and Rima did such a great first episode to start us off on this journey with Gus, because it is scary this season so far. As much of the heartwarming as we get, it's also terrifying because you're not sure what's going to happen next, and it could be really bad.
And let's see, other things in the Podcastica network. Check out the Cast of Us. Right now, a new episode came up this week. Rich, Chris, and Jason discussed the new Evil Dead Rise movie that is out now in theaters. So they went and saw that. They talked about that episode over there on that. Yellow Jackets WTF still going. It was had a week off, so you didn't even have Yellow Jackets this weekend. But it will be back this next week. And you are on there, Daphne, with Penny and Wendy, talking about episode 6 of Yellow Jackets.
Yeah. It just continues to get even more and more bizarre.
Yeah, I'm loving it. And then another show that is very bizarre, but it's getting really good. Of course, From over on was Epics, now it's something else.
MGM Plus.
MGM, yeah. But yeah, of course, the What Is From cast, talking about From, Alex and Lizzie over there, breaking down those episodes weekly. I don't know if they've got any more interviews done, but they did get an on their YouTube channel, I believe, and on Facebook, they've been posting the interviews that they got from the press circuit. So like Harold Perrineau and things like that, they got interviews with him and some other people. So go definitely check those out and check out their coverage of season 2 of From.
Yeah, they had a few more this week that they've been doing and posting.
Nice. Good. I love that they've been doing that.
I think they're going to get through the entire cast by the end of the season.
Yeah, they've done so many. Definitely check out the Revisited podcast, Lost Revisited, still going back through a rewatch of Lost with Ben and Kristen, and they have Des joining this week talking about this season 6 episodes 18 and 19. Make sure to check that out. And Marvelous Miss Maisel in its final season, so go check out Perfectly Marvelous, as Erica, Jade, and Kara are covering episode 5 of this final season of that. And then the last one, Adrenaline Cinema, over on the Pirate Core Network. Of course, check out Mark and Jerry over there breaking down 1933's King Kong, going old school as they like to do over there sometimes. So
they do. Mark and Jerry have a really good rapport with each other. And Jerry has such a vast knowledge of movies that he's always finding these ones that I've forgotten about. Not King Kong in particular, but some of the other ones, it's like, I forgot about that. Jerry's going to be coming back sometime maybe this season to talk about a movie that we feel Pake needs to be exposed to. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll get to that this season. I know we'll have Jerry back on. And then lastly, all those great podcasts right there in our circle. But one other podcast that you definitely need to check out is the Talking Tremors podcast with Levi right here. So go ahead, and where can people find you? I want to let you speak on that a little bit. Plug yourself while you're here before we go.
So I run the Talking Tremors podcast. Obviously, we talk about Lake Placid.
No, but we do.
And we're up to about 40 episodes so far. I got a bunch of people's emails this weekend, so hopefully we'll be having some cast and crew from Tremors on. And obviously, we just talk about Tremors. And I can't even say that it's obviously it's about the movies, but a lot about the ideas and concepts behind the movies. One of my favorite episodes was when we talk about how Burt Gummer has inspired a legion of gun nuts and how that's not exactly a great thing. Uh, um, but yeah, so there's Talking Tremors. I help out the people that run the At the Tremors Saga. So if you want to know anything about Tremors, At the Tremors Saga, that is your one go-to of like anything.
Yeah.
And there's a Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
It's because of that I found out about this
Mhm.
fest happening in the first place.
It is.
And yeah, that's so Talking Tremors or At the Tremors Saga. Pretty simple because it's Tremors. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like plugging myself, so this thank you.
We check those out.
Oh, and I was gonna tell everybody knows my name. What the fuck am I talking about? Jesus Christ. My name is Levi Dylan Burzloff Lutt. Try spelling that, and then we're done. Booyah. But yeah, I got, like I said, I don't like plugging myself, so that's you guys don't mind me. I'm gonna play with this rubber band.
All right, I think we're good there. So you can edit this stuff around, but then I think just Daphne can sign it off, and then
Yeah.
we're good.
All right. So this is when we usually say what's coming up next on Run for Your Lives, but we're still technically on a little break.
Mhm.
We'll be back on May 19th with a brand new episode, but we're not going to tell you what it is yet.
Not quite yet. You gotta wait. That is my birthday. The podcast.
It
back. The 19th is my birthday,
is.
so we're coming back on my birthday.
That's
cover-
something
And
to
you know,
celebrate.
we always start a season with a really solid thing. So I will give a hint. It's definitely another one of my favorites. If you know me well, you know my favorite directors, and it's definitely a movie from that person. So we'll let you speculate at that, and that's about it.
Da, 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 da. And that's my hint. With that, we have reached the end of another fun episode. This one especially fun because we got to break down Pake and Levi's trip to Tremors Fest. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.